Welcome in, everybody. How's it going this evening? Episode 29 of the Fuzed Relativity podcast.
We have now
Uh,
hit enough days to be a leap year in February.
Leap year in February. Nice. Even without Kirk here, we're still celebrating random days on podcasts. But
And I do want to apologize before we get too far into this. Uh, I have a new microphone. Chris has fixed his microphone, so the audio may be a little bit off.
good news is we're fixing things, so
Yeah,
that's a good start.
and I have a Stream Deck that I can control stuff with, so that's been fun messing with.
Life is getting good in the space podcast booth that we call home. But as you could tell, Kirk is out this week. He is yet again at another concert that he booked like 6-7 months ago.
I was going to say, he was saying he booked this like before or while we were talking about starting the podcast.
Yeah, so we're cutting him some slack. We're giving him a day off. He's been with us every week so far. And you know what? We'll make it through. But he might make a surprise appearance later on, so stay tuned. Well, John,
I was going to say...
I know... Huh?
Nothing, sorry.
The
With
wait,
Chris's
what?
new mic, he now picks up more ambient sounds, whereas I'm the exact opposite. My mic
Yeah, I'm
has
sure.
now been set, so I don't pick up nearly as much that's going around me anymore.
I'm just guessing you could hear Delilah in the background.
Yes, that's what I was referring to.
Hey,
So,
maybe she wanted to be on the podcast this week. You don't know.
uh, so we were going to start off with talking about SpaceX and Inspiration 4. They had a successful launch, flight, and landing just a couple hours ago.
How funny! I didn't even I forgot that they were landing today. So that actually went okay.
Yeah, no, I watched the whole thing. They landed just off the coast of Florida. Everything was nominal.
Perfect. It was nice to see. I watched the launch live, and it was cool. I didn't realize that they strapped those guys into the seats like 2 hours ahead of time.
Oh
So
yeah,
literally, the astronauts are just sitting in the rocket for like 2 hours, just waiting to launch. That's a lot of time to sit up in the cockpit and be like, I made a bad decision doing this.
I think the shuttle was just as long, if not longer. And then
Did you have did you happen to catch what their final like communication with ground control was before the launch?
I don't think I did. I think when I was watching this, I was a little preoccupied. I didn't actually watch with audio. That's what it was. I was just watching it without audio.
Because they were saying like, okay, you're cleared for launch. Good luck, Godspeed, and all that. And I actually thought it was a pretty cool way to send the last message. And I'm sure it was Isaacman, the commander, who said, "Punch it, SpaceX."
That is a good one.
Yeah, I thought it was fitting, and it reminded me of Punch It Chewie. So
Well, I mean that's the Falcon 9 is named after the Millennium Falcon, so I mean that's at least partially accurate.
I also learned a lot just from watching the launch, because anybody who's seen a launch from SpaceX knows that they have commentary pretty much the whole time through.
Yep.
Excu- Excuse me. And they had, I learned that they actually limit the G's on the astronauts so that
Yeah.
they they're a little more comfortable during the launch. So at least they have the ability to do that. That's kind of
Well,
cool.
and that's if I know what you're talking about, it's when they throttle down right before max Q, which is the maximum aerodynamic load, and then after they pass through it, they kind of throttle back up until they get to space. I think
Yeah,
that's what. Yeah,
and they were saying at that point that they were keeping them around 4 Gs. So I'm assuming that's just to make them a little more comfortable while they're hitting max Q.
yeah. I don't know the. I don't know if you know the G force in a Tesla on launch. I know it's got to be what, 2 or 3.
In a Tesla, the car?
Yeah,
Oh, I have no idea.
because you've seen the videos of people getting in a Tesla and they floor it and everyone just gets flung back into the seat.
Well, I imagine it's pretty hefty because there's no.
Uh, I was wrong. It's 1.37.
Okay, so a third of a G, but
Well, there's varying. It says it could be up to 2. So what I was thinking, I'm like, it's pretty. I know two's not, or four's still a lot, but it's not as
I
bad
think
as like 7 or 9 that the jet pilots experience.
I think the big question would be what is the G rating for a roller coaster?
That's a good question.
I'm actually looking it up as we speak. Most roller coasters pull about 4 Gs.
Okay, so it's like a roller coaster, which most people can handle.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't particularly care for roller coasters because of the G's. I don't really like that feeling, so it
Yeah,
sounds terrible
that's
to me to be stuck in it for a while, but
well,
it's
it's only about what, minute?
yeah, I think it was like a minute and 27 seconds or
Because
something like that.
it's 2 minutes and 40 seconds before they roughly before they detach the Falcon from the Dragon or the second stage and head back. Um, so I don't think you're experiencing that high a G force for that long.
Well, and of course the astronauts seem to be able to handle it just fine, and some of the missions, not missions, the training that I saw, especially in the second half, so third, fourth episodes of the Inspiration documentary, they were flying in jets and they were pulling like 7 and 8 Gs. So
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Normal jet fighters will get 7, 8, 9 Gs. Then that's absolutely normal to them. I was watching something about, I don't remember if it was the Blue Angels or it was the Canadian group that does similar things, but the amount of G-force that they go through some of those turns and everything, it's just ridiculous.
yeah, they have. I heard it somewhere on a podcast that said that they actually wear a certain type of like it's like a thing they wear around their legs that squeezes them so
Yeah,
that the blood can't pool in their legs while they're flying.
it's a G-force suit.
And so if I feel like if you're having to wear a G-force suit, that's too many G's.
Eh, but when you're in stuff that's, the reason they pull those off is because it's combat. They need to be as mobile and agile as possible. So if you need to do a high G-force turn, you better hope you don't pass out halfway through it, because then
Well,
you're kind of a statistic at that point.
I agree, but I also no thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in fairness, I don't think you exactly qualify for fighter pilot training.
And I'm okay with that. But it was cool to see the mission went off without a hitch. And so as I was watching like some of the pre launch stuff, I was looking at it going, man, sitting in that rocket for 2 hours before launch would just be terrible. And then I thought, it's SpaceX. This this is gonna go off just fine. They're not gonna have a problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that they haven't. They've had two that I can think of. The one that blew up on the pad, and then the one that blew up just after Max Q. Not dragons, mind you. This was
Well,
what's
but
that?
they also like the booster that flew was its third flight, and the Dragon capsule was its second flight.
Yeah, and that's because NASA. I don't know if they've changed. I haven't really been paying attention to Dragon and all of that, but NASA really wanted to limit the amount of times they wanted new stuff for every NASA approved flight. I think they relaxed on the boosters after they realized that, yeah, the booster that's flown 10 times is just as, if not more reliable than the one that flew hasn't flown yet. Because at least if you have a booster that has flown, you know everything's, where it's supposed to be. And they've got boosters that have flown 10 times now, which is just ridiculous if you ask me.
Well, yeah, they had a SpaceX, a Starlink mission that launched last weekend.
Yeah, it was
I
just
mean,
after our podcast.
yeah, and they that I think that was the ninth or 10th flight for that particular booster.
Yeah, they pretty much that's why everything went to Starship, is because they had X amount of boosters and they were producing them so fast before because they needed to. They needed to have a surplus of boosters because they kept blowing them up on the barge ships. And then they started landing them. And at first, they landed the ones at the in Florida at the actual launch center, and then they started landing on the boats. And I think they lost one or two on the boats after that, but otherwise, almost every single one has stuck its landing and is being reused, which is just insane.
And
That
I was gonna say one thing was the amount of engines on that rocket is actually kind of misleading because they have so many. I think what are they, Merlin engines?
no, they've got. I was gonna say Raptor, but Raptor's wrong. Raptor's for the Starship. I think they're all Merlins. They've
Yeah,
got
there's like what 27, or is
uh
it
no, that's Starship.
no?
Falcon 9 has 9.
Yeah, so 9 engines all
Well, it's
throwing flames out the back of it. That's crazy.
yeah, Falcon 9 has 9 at the bottom. It's got one on the second stage, which is a vacuum engine, and then it's got however many Draco engines on the Dragons. The payload ones don't have extra engines, but
So I'm gonna ask you this question. I don't know if you know the answer, but it was another one that came up when I was watching the launch. What is a vacuum engine?
so it is, and this is going to be my simplistic, very rudimentary, I'm not a space engineer explanation. When you're at sea level and you're taking off, you need to kind of focus the flame. Otherwise, if you let a flame just burn out without confinement, you're just going to get a lot of flame, no push. Um, the opposite is true. Opposite. I don't know if that was the right word. But once you get into space, that being able to confine that fuel, and I don't know if you saw it on the Starlink mission, but as the rocket goes higher and higher up, the flames out the back keep expanding. Did you notice that?
I did. It was kind of crazy looking because it honestly looks a little bit like the rocket's gonna blow up.
Yeah. So as you get higher up, because there's less space, not space, but less atmosphere, it expands more. So that's what a vacuum engine is. It's designed to have, it's practically the same engine. It's just, it's got a different housing on it that is more conducive to the rocket in space versus in atmosphere. So it's better able to utilize the fuel and everything like that in space rather than like if you tried to use the vacuum engines on the ground level, it might work, but probably not.
Mostly, I could just see once they got to the second stage, all you really see is just a red hot circle.
Yeah, and that's just flying in space is inefficient. I mean, that's the crux of it all. That's why we're having so many issues. Like realistically, fueled rockets in space are just not ideal. We need ionic or nuclear powered, something like that.
Well, hopefully they will continue to develop stuff like that, but seems like so far SpaceX has a pretty good handle on, you know, how to do these things.
Well, they're the leading and only. I don't want to say only because they're not the only, but they are the only private space company right now that's sending people to space. And yes, that
I,
is an insult to the other two.
I was going to say it might be that we're a little bit biased. Just saying.
No, the thing with Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic are those were publicity stunts. Like, yeah, they went high, and yes, they went technically to to varying degrees of space, but it was minutes. Those people had minutes, whereas you look at Inspiration 4, they had 3 days of
I
floating
don't.
around in space and taking pictures. When I was watching the live stream, they had a live stream of them in the capsule. They could see an aurora borealis event out of that cupola window.
Well, and the cupola pictures that I saw were pretty amazing. I mean, to have that view for 3 days would be
Well,
awesome.
and that's just it. I mean, and I know it's going to lead kind of into our further topic where we're going to debate capitalism. Um, but the fact that that dude was generous enough, eh, people can hate on billionaires, and I completely understand that. But the fact that he paid for those three other people to fly was insane. Like it could have been four different billionaires all flying up there doing whatever, but at least he paid for the other people to fly with him.
So I'm not real sure where you were going there because that actually was one of the things that soured me a little bit,
Yeah.
only because they said it was the first all civilian mission, which yes it was, but it was all funded by a billionaire who rode on the rocket. So
Well,
in
and
my, it
even
kind of makes me feel like it was a billionaire going to space and he just spun it to make it less.
I was going to say, even then, they're technically not all civilian. I mean, they are, but one of them was a fighter pilot, right?
Well, he was the billionaire who funded it, flies uh, jets and Blue Angels, and
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
and
like,
one guy was a data engineer. The
yeah.
the the other
Because then there was
the,
the
the
cancer
woman who,
survivor. Yeah.
yeah, the cancer survivor. But then there was another woman who was picked as a finalist to be an astronaut. So
Yeah, I kind of only somewhat caught when they were talking about that. I need to go back and watch that documentary.
it's okay. It's slow, and
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I mean,
you have to drag out 4 episodes of essentially that. Well, and the thing is, and where where the capitalism debate kind of started in my head. I was reading a tweet, not a tweet, it might have been a tweet, um, that I think I saved it too. Let me see if I can find it. But it was essentially, oh, my internet is tremendously bad.
You got us on pins and needles. It
Yeah.
was a
Okay.
tweet.
So
It wasn't a tweet. It was
it was
essentially
it was you could make $5,000 a day from like the founding of America, and you would still have less money than uh, Bezos right now.
doesn't seem right, but
Why not?
$5,000 a day.
Yep. Which is more than enough for. That's only $1 million a day or a year, just under $2 million a year. And
Well,
you're
$2 million
talking
a year times two. Okay, all right,
yeah,
200 years.
200 years is only $365,000 or $1 million.
I gotcha.
So I mean, it would be realistically, what would be 1,000 years? Yeah, you get into the 2 billion range. So go. I guess it would be closer to 10,000. Would get it you close to. You'd have to make that amount of money for 10,000 years, which is ridiculous because like if I were to say to you, here's $5,000 a day, would that not be more than enough money for you to do whatever the hell you wanted for the rest of your life?
Of course it would.
Like I look at Lucky for Life as that is more than enough money for any person in the world to live off of. Now, obviously, you're not going to be buying yachts and shit like that, but like that's more than enough to have a decent house, you know, entertainment whenever you want, vacations whenever you want, and more importantly, not to work.
I was, I was gonna say I've played that game in the past, and I've always said the second I win Lucky for Life, I'm quitting my job.
Well,
But
I mean, there would be no reason. That's $365,000 a year. That is, ballpark, but I'm gonna guess probably about 4 times what either of us make, if not closer to five. But like, if you look at it just from a basic perspective, and say $1,000 a day to live on, like, I think at first you could justify and would probably end up spending $1,000 a day. But after that, I mean, what are you going to spend $1,000 a day on?
ice cream makers.
But I mean, that's kind of my point. Is you end up with this monotony of even getting that much money, you're going to end up start saving it and end up having more because you just can't spend it that fast.
Well, and I agree. You would probably, you know, binge spend for the first year, and then after a while, you'd be like, all right, I don't need anything else. I'll just save my money. But
So my point is, why is there such this obsession with people that have billions of dollars? That's money that's never going to be spent or used.
well, and I've said it before on the podcast. I am all for capitalism. I enjoy capitalism. I think it's one of the things that keeps the economy going.
Well,
And
I mean,
it
by
seems,
definition, and it is the economy.
well, yes, but so I understand there's a huge gap between billionaires and the average working class. And yes, I agree that you've said it in previous episode that the only way to get billions of dollars is to totally mispay and overwork, or let's say abuse your working class to get there. but that's the whole point of capitalism.
Yes.
Once you start making a lot of money, you only want to make more so that you can be the richest person in the world.
Yeah, but that's a I mean, it's not a new concept, but what's the
It's been
point?
around forever. I
Well,
mean,
and
look at look at Egypt, look at Greece. Like everybody's got some sort of royalty that's just
yes, but
better, more money than everybody.
even then, now not Egypt and all that, but if you look at the most or the richest country that was in the northern Africa, there was a king who had so much gold because that's all his country produced that when he went out, he destroyed the economies of other places just by giving away gold. Like, I don't see Bezos giving away shit.
Well,
Well,
and I mean, there's ego tied to that money. So, of course, he's not going to give it out. And to that point, I'm assuming that I mean, I'm guessing and speculating here, but I would have to think that in Bezos's mind, he earned all that money. Even
well,
though he didn't, his workers did. I know that, it's not like, oh, I didn't earn this money, so I don't deserve it. He's going, look, I built this company. This is my money.
and that's the problem I have. Is he didn't even start Amazon the way it is. Amazon was a bookstore, and he started making money as a bookstore. And then I would bet that he hired more people who changed it and did other things that transformed it into what it is now. All he did was start a bookstore, an online bookstore. That's it. At
Right, but
least with
there's other people who have done the same thing. Just because he got lucky doesn't mean that, we should hate him for having a bunch of money. He's
but
got plenty of other reasons to hate him.
well, I understand that, but why is he allowed to accumulate so much? Like he's at what, 180 billion dollars right now? Something ridiculous like that. Why is
Well,
that an acceptable amount of money for one person to hold? Because he's going to
from the
die.
from the outside, no, he's not. He's working on the Fountain
I
Youth,
know.
remember? But perspectively, look at it from the other side. If you had 180 billion dollars, now it's hard to look at it from a glass house or whatever you want to call it, but you're not going to just want to throw away all that money to everybody who doesn't have any. You're going to pick and choose, and you might give away some money, but you're going to look at your bank account and go, wow, I got $150 billion. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but it does nothing. Like, and that's my point is even with just $1 billion, you would be set for life. I mean, with and this is something that I kind of attest to. Like, a lot of people sit out there and they want to win Powerball and all this stuff and have all that money. If you look at Lucky for Life, which pays you $1,000 a day for the rest of your life, you only need about $4 to $6 million in your retirement or whatever. As you know, I'm not very good with the whole financial thing, but you just need about $6 million to pay yourself that amount of money for the rest of your life, just by living off the interest.
Well, here's a little interesting. I came up with this when you said you wanted to talk about capitalism, and I was going to throw it at you just as a case in point because I want to let's look at Elon Musk. Okay, the guy's the second richest man, and Bezos and him go back and forth as to who's got more money. So, what do you say about Elon Musk having all his money?
Oh, the
Is
same.
it
No, it's the same thing.
right? But he also pays his employees fairly well. He
Eh,
doesn't, from
there's
all I've heard, most of
well,
the people
yes,
who work for him think that they're fairly well paid and they're fairly happy. So,
but they're also overworked. Like SpaceX was notorious for burnout of especially new grad space engineers, just due to the amount of work that they were requiring.
Okay, but you're saying that that's a little different than
No,
just
no, no,
being
no. I agree.
like Amazon. So Bezos, he underpays and overworks his employees. Okay, so we know that. And what's funny is he doesn't even make any money off of Amazon itself. He actually loses money off of Amazon,
Well, that's the
where
same with Google.
they make all their money off their web services, which is, that's a whole different ballgame. But
Well, and it's the same with Gates. It's the same with, I mean, even I would say Tesla, but Tesla, that's all just on cars. Um, yeah,
but my point is this. So let's say you start a company tomorrow and you make $100 million in 10 years. Should you have to give away $50 million?
yeah, why not? See, I look at it as, I don't know the correct term, but I would be more than happy with 50. I'd be happy to go with 10 million.
And I understand that, but I think that's where the theory is lost, is you coming from a perspective of not having $100 million to actually having $100 million. If someone said you have $100 million, you should give up half because you don't need it. Well, I bet you your tune would change, because you're like, well, wait a minute, I made that money. Why should I give it away?
Well,
There's certainly going to be, cases where that's not the case, and people will give away half their money without a problem. But I would be willing to bet that 90% of people are going to want to keep their money.
no, I would agree. But here's the thing. So you're saying Amazon makes all of its money from AWS.
Yes.
I would be willing to bet all of Bezos' money he had absolutely no hand in creating AWS.
Well, and I see where you're going, one, and number two, I understand what you're saying.
But
But the
who?
thing is why is that such a bad thing for
Because
someone to create a company, and then so we create fused relativity, right? And then we do so well that we make $1 billion, and now we're going to outsource our podcast to other people so that we don't have to do it, and we're just going to sit back and collect the funds. Okay, what's wrong with that?
well, I mean, more than ethically, I see where you're going, and that's completely fine. But what about the people that are doing the podcast? Are we going to sit there and say, oh, hey, by the way, since it's only federally legal for me to pay you, this much, I'm going to just pay you this much while we're making 10 times that? That's my problem with this system.
Well, it's all about supply and demand, right? So if I've got the job and you need the job, and I'm willing to pay you $2 more than minimum wage, what's the problem there? You know, it,
I get that. It's just, it sits wrong with me for a
it's
variety of reasons.
right. And the funny thing about this, capitalism or any kind of debate is it's all uh, about ethics and what your own opinion is on the world. And so people like me, I don't see any problem with capitalism, because you could bet your bottom dollar that I would take your bottom dollar if I had a company that could take it.
Well, I get that. But part of the reason why I wanted to do this debate is that there is a company in California. I don't know 100% the specifics on it. I only saw it because of a couple of things on TikTok and Reddit. But the way this company works is there is an owner and a certain amount of full-time and part-time employees. I think I don't know if it's I know they deal with clothing, but I don't know the exact specifics. But anyway, First flat rate is they pay $250 per person after taxes, whether they work um, part time or full time. Everyone gets $250 a day. And then at the end of the year, or end of the quarter or whatever, they always try and become as close to zero profit as possible, whether that be giving money back to the employees or buying them cars or whatever. Why isn't that a more acceptable business practice than what we have now?
Simple answer. Because that would cut into the profits of my corporation.
Yeah, exactly.
And so,
but then you have this company that has extremely happy and loyal people that work for it, and you have hundreds, if not thousands, of people that want to work for that company. And if this person takes and is able to use this and spin it and open 4 or 5 more, then they become a force that is now threatening other corporations. Now, obviously, this is a pretty niche targeted audience. I think it was like Gothic clothing. But
of course it was.
But I mean, the principle is sound. Why aren't more companies trying to, like, she's essentially saying she's a nonprofit without saying she's a nonprofit. Because that's the goal, and that's the thing that pisses me off about nonprofits. Is, they come in and they say stuff like, oh, yeah, our profit margins were so thin and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you're a nonprofit. You're not supposed to make a profit. That's the whole point.
Yeah, but we know that, I'm biased against nonprofits because I think most of them are just trying to make money. But
well, that's just
beside
it.
the point. Let me take you off on another tangent because I have a feeling capitalism is going to get even worse once automation starts to kick in. Because now those people who are making the money, they don't have to pay disgruntled workers minimum wage. They just have to buy robots.
Well, and you know what? You say this, and when we were talking about automation, I said, "Oh yeah, I have an idea on how to do this." It never came up. We got so entranced in talking about other shit, it just never came up. My thought for that is that every single robot that is replaced needs to pay taxes equivalent to however many people it replaced. That is the only way this will work. And I think with automation, it has to be like a tax of 40% of the salary that it's replacing. So if it's replacing 10 people and all 10 of those people made $30,000, then it needs to pay... I did math and 300,000. So it'd be if they had to pay 50%, it'd be $150,000 a year that robot would have to pay in taxes. Now, obviously, people are going to be scumbags and not report or underreport or try and get around it, but that's the only way this will work. These or better yet, just actually tax companies. And get rid of all of this BS of tax havens and all this shit.
Well, and so I can agree with the fact that companies who do make, big profits, they should be paying their taxes like every other working person. But that's a different topic for a different time because we're not really talking about the ethics of business owners. We're talking about capitalism in itself.
But
I'm saying if you have a business that makes widgets, and I can get a robot in to make widgets that will cost, initially it's going to cost a lot of money to automate, but it's going to save me money over the long term. Well, I'm going to just go with the robots because I've got money. I've got something that's in demand and people buy it. Okay, well, so the only problem that I see is once you start getting rid of people's jobs, then nobody has the money to buy your widgets. So capitalism has its plus and minus in robot world, but
Here's
it
the
could play a
problem,
big
though.
part.
That's already happened. That's long since gone. Those robots have taken those jobs. They're not coming back. Most factory jobs like that are already fully automated. Look at car production lines. You know, you have a few token humans sitting around doing things that robots technically can't, but that's it. A Tesla is built, they build like, what, 30, 40 a day? There's no way humans could do that.
Right. But then, so, I mean, under that scenario, why shouldn't I get robots to replace humans and just empty out the workforce? I mean, granted, we're talking about a,
Well, and
once
that's
again, an ethical dilemma versus a,
well,
you
and
know,
that's the thing is most factory jobs are already gone. Like those ships have sailed from America, not so much other countries, but in America, those are mostly gone. You, the jobs that we need to protect are retail and trucking, delivery in specific, stuff like that, because those are what's next.
but so the biggest argument that I have against going back to the whole why don't I have it, or why are people allowed to make $150 billion and not somebody else? My biggest argument for that, and this may sound a little, I say self-centered, but it's more of an ideological, uh, let's say, statement that people don't like, is why don't you go build that company?
Because people have tried. That's the thing that I don't like about this. How people are like, "Well, you could have done it." I'm like, no, that's not how this works. You know, this is one of the points that I wanted to break up. How many foolish, dumbass schemes did we do growing up to try and make a ton of money?
Well,
I can think
yes,
of a
and
few.
not all of them. Not well. Let's say look at how many billionaires there are in the world. I don't know. There's probably more than I think, but
There's two that are over 100, a handful that are under 100, and then a bunch of like just over a billion.
the only ones that really piss me off, and this is, based off of just something that gets my craw, is that people who are in finance, like the stock market and hedge funds, those billionaires, they're not really building anything. They're just pushing money around.
No,
But the people who build companies, I have full respect for all the money that they have, and I am totally happy that they have it. So
well,
it's
but why aren't things done more ethically? That's my thing. Like there have been multiple attempts of companies trying to do the ethical and right thing. Like there was a company, I think it was in Washington, that had a cap on how much the next spot up in the company could make. Why isn't that a regulation?
because I mean, if you want my honest opinion, because it shouldn't be a regulation. If I make my company, I shouldn't. I don't want people telling me how to run my company.
Well, I get
Uh,
that, but I'm just saying we have these people like that are making millions and millions of dollars and they're paying employees the absolute minimum. Like there was and this is kind of getting off the topic, but there was a story that was going around of this lady in like Idaho where she had a group of firefighters come in and someone else had offered to pay their bill because, firefighters. So they paid the bill and then the firefighters expecting to pay were like, "Okay, well, you can have a $150 tip now."
right.
The boss said, "Yeah, no, that's not how this is going to work. You're going to repay the money." I think it might have been another employee that offered to pay. He's like, "You're going to pay the employee and then you're going to tip out the cooks and you can keep what's left." And it ended up being practically nothing.
Well, yeah,
Like,
That's a different scenario, but
Well, it's not though, because that's my point. These regulations have just failed. Like the wage discrepancy between CEOs and the average person has skyrocketed. Like you can have CEOs that are making hundreds of millions of dollars a year and have employees that are making practically nothing. And in today's economy, they're not even necessarily the same people that started the company. They're just bought, come in, and assume the title and the money. Now, in that
well,
situation, do they deserve that money if they had absolutely nothing to do with the company? And they were just hired as a figurehead?
and it's so funny as I'm sitting here listening, I'm shaking my head because once again, I've said it many times before, I'm pro-capitalism, and absolutely. And the reason why is because they had the money to get in there. I don't hate, the what's the old thing like don't hate the player, hate the game.
Well, and I
You know,
agree. And I do hate the game. That's why we're debating this. Capitalism is a game, and I hate the game. And I think it needs to be changed and regulated. Like, I'm not even saying, tax the rich, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, billionaires don't need multi-billion dollars of money. Like,
yeah, but
you could tax them. But here's the thing. You could tax them at 90%. Anyone that makes over $1 billion, they would still be perfectly fine. They would have more money than they would still ever be able to use in their lifetimes. Why
right.
is that an issue?
Well, I mean, once again, let's take it. I feel like we take it out of money, right? Okay, so we're taking this out of money. Okay, so now we're going to say you have, uh, for lunch today, you've got 6 pieces of fruit. Okay, well, 2 or 3 people come up and say, hey, you've got more fruit than we have. We each want a slice of your fruit. Why should you give them any of your food?
Because you're a decent fucking human being.
Well, they've each got one slice. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I get that. But again, my point comes down to the fact that you're talking about minuscule amounts of food. A more apt description would be you have a whole fucking country come up and you own a massive apple farm and you don't want to give anyone any apples. That's
Well, yeah, those are my apples.
But that's the correct analogy to be using is I'm talking about if you took 90% of Bezos's money, he would still be a multi-billionaire. That's how much money he has. It wouldn't affect anything. He would still have more money than he could ever spend. There is nothing in this world that costs $1 billion right now.
Well, yes, and I was happy that we decided to do this conversation without Kirk because I feel like you guys would be ganging up on me a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's so funny because once again, let's look at this from a broader perspective. This is an ideological discussion, right? So what I believe and what you believe are two different things. And unfortunately, neither of us is going to change each other's opinion, right? So
nor are we ever going to become anywhere near a billionaire.
Speak for yourself.
See, and I feel like that's also the problem is this ideal set of I will one day become a billionaire while I'm working my dead-end job that I don't like. I'll come up with that idea that makes me super rich one day.
Okay. Right. So you talked about lottery, right? So I'm
Yes.
still going back. I'm trying to trip you up, and I am. But the question is, okay, so let's say you play the lottery, right, and you win $6 million.
Okay.
Okay. So we know that you're going to have to pay, 40% of that to tax right off the bat?
Well, that depends. Are you talking about Colorado lottery? Because Colorado lottery is a lot different than the other lotteries.
All right, so let's vague it out a little bit. Let's say, okay, you win $6 million in a lottery.
Okay.
and the tax rate is 40%.
Okay.
Okay. So what are you at? You're at two and a half. No, you're at
About 3 million.
three and a half
3.2.
million.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you're at 3.5 million, and me, as your brother, comes up to you and says, "Hey, man, you just won 3.5 million. You should give me 1 million."
Why do you think most people who win lottery end up dead?
Well, but let's just look at it from. So I'm
Well,
saying,
and I get
well,
that.
you have $3 million, and 3.5 million, so you can give up 1 million, and and I picked only 6 million because 3 million, 3.5 million after taxes, it's a lot of money, but it's not. You're not rich for the rest of your life. You could blow through $3.5 million if you weren't smart, right?
That's not necessarily true.
Well, I'm saying if you weren't smart and you just blew through, you started buying fancy cars and like a lot of lottery winners do, they blow through their winnings and then they're broke. I'm just saying, if I came up to you on one day and I said, "Hey, give me $1 million because you have 3.5," you know what your response is going to be?
No. Well, no, because I wouldn't have $1 million. See,
No, you're taking it too far because you're trying to make loopholes in the argument.
No.
You have $3.5 million, and I said,
Taking
"Hey,
anything but the annuity is dumb.
well,
And if you
that's
took
like
the
I said."
annuity on a
No.
$6 million, you wouldn't have $1 million.
Okay, fine. You do a scratch ticket, and it's $6 million. There's no annuity. Okay.
I'm almost certain there is.
But listen, I'm just saying, if you had $20 billion, and I said, "John, give me $10 billion because you have 20," you might say, "Here's a billion."
Well,
If
even then, okay, if we're going to stick to the billion and you said, "Can I have 10 billion?" I wouldn't care because at that point, there is nothing you can spend that amount of money on. You can buy a damn country for that amount of money.
But see, you're saying $20 billion until you have that in your bank account and you can look at it and you go,
but
"Well,
these guys don't. That's the thing that you don't get is these people don't actually have billions and billions of dollars in their account.
Well,
they're just worth that much because of their stocks. If they went and tried to sell, like if Bezos said, "I want to buy $1 billion thing," and tried to sell $1 billion of Amazon stocks to pay for said thing, he would crash the economy. The economy would fucking tank, and it would be because of him. That's not how they work. They work by taking that money that they might have and leveraging it into loans that they'll slowly pay back.
well, and that's just another game that gets played with capitalism. But you have to understand, like, without those people who have more money than everybody else, yes. Is there an ice cream maker in every room in Bezos' house? Probably. Is it necessary? Absolutely not. And a lot of people are going to showboat that money. But look at how far SpaceX has come only because he had that much money to be able to further his space program.
I don't think he spent that much money on SpaceX. Even if he did, it still would have been within reason if they had taxed it at a high amount.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not arguing that, but I'm saying, what's the incentive if you're a businessman and all of a sudden you're like, "Well, what's the point of making a business if they're just going to take half my money?"
Well,
You
the
know what I'm
point
saying?
is, well, under your rules of capitalism, if that person's not going to do it, someone else who is willing to give up half their money will.
Okay, well, that schmo should have thought of it first.
But you're sitting here, see, and that's what gets me is everyone always defends these fucking rich people that make so much money and don't give a fuck about you. And like right now, you're defending why we shouldn't tax the shit out of the rich, despite the fact that it is never a tax bracket that either one of us will be in.
Well,
Like I said, We can have our
let me clarify. I think that tax shields and foreign investment accounts are BS because I'm in a little bit of a higher tax bracket and I don't necessarily like paying taxes, but I pay my fair share every year, just like every working person does. And I think the rich people should get taxed a little higher. Not higher, but they should pay their fair share of taxes. But in the grand scheme of things, I support the fact that people can make $150 billion. If you want to go out and make $150 billion and then spend it all on yachts, so be it.
My point isn't about that. My point is the fact that no one should have $150 billion. Because everything that he can do with $150 billion, he can do with $150 million.
Well,
he doesn't need those 3 extra zeros. And I guarantee you, he is currently living off of probably $100 million, if not $10 million. I would guess that his average yearly fluctuation of money is around $5 to $10 million. He doesn't need the rest of those billions.
Understood. But that's the same, it kind of goes back to this age-old thing of like, you're not playing with that toy. Can I play with it? Well, no, it's my toy. It's all about ego.
But see, and that's where I can see where we diverge in this thought process, because you're still very, well, I don't want to say still very, but you're very self-centered and, individualist. Like, this is mine, or, why should I have to share? Whereas I've taken on to this, in order for us to proceed as humanity, we need to take on a more let's fix all the fucking problems mentality of we need to share and be helpful to one another. I can see that as, because I've adapted that mindset. Like, when because I've been scheming and plotting and doing everything else to think of ways to make money. Like, I started YouTube back in 2011, and if I had probably stuck with it, it might have gone through, and I might have been making a decent amount there. But at the same time, I've also taken, I don't want to be, if I was ever in that situation, to be one of those dickheads that's making billions of dollars and doing absolutely nothing. Because I personally would put every amount of money I got either back into the company or into more people working.
Right. And so, once again, that goes into ideology, right? So, philanthropy and, building back and giving back, that's something that some people do and some people don't.
That's something almost no one does, though. And the people and this is what kind of spurred this, is that little shop I told you about in California. Every single one of the comments I read was saying how stupid she was, and that how this isn't how capitalism works. And that she would be broken out of a job within a year.
Right. And there's a fine line because it can go the other way too. And this is something that I think we should, table, not necessarily we can bring this up in future episode because, hey, this is a fun debate, two people who look at things completely opposite ideology. It's fun, right? You get to sit and argue about things,
and that's the definition of a debate.
Absolutely.
Granted, that's not the title. It was, but then we changed it.
Yes. Inspiration. That's what I'm all about, right?
And the death of capitalism.
No. Capitalism rocks. But
okay. I see you're trying to table this so that we can move on. I do have one thing to say, because I do use capitalism to my own advantage.
Of course you do, because it's there for everybody's use.
But I still think it's horribly wrong and needs to be replaced. No, my thing was, we used to talk about 3D printing a whole lot more. And I have a picture, but my kids always had a hard time being motivated to do, the little chores around the house, or, getting their online homework done when they were supposed to. So me and my wife came up with a store. We buy stuff, put it in the store. They have to earn coins in order to buy stuff from the store. So, basic capitalism.
Right.
Capitalism where I'm not getting rich off the backs of my child's work. Sorry, that was another jab at you, Chris. But so anyway,
My kids aren't old enough to work for me yet, so give it time.
so a long time ago, I had made one of those. I'm sure you've seen them, Chris. The 3D printed maze tubes.
Oh yeah.
So I put a bunch of those coins in there, locked it, and said the first one who opened it gets all the coins in it. Well, my very diligent daughter, nope, that's not it. There it is. She managed to finally get it open, and you can just tell her little smirk there of yeah, because I think it was like something like 15 coins, and most things in our store there cost like one or two. So I've done it again. She made off quite handsomely.
Yes.
But that's kind of the other thing I wanted to say is I think it can work. It just needs to be refined. It's kind of late in its life cycle to be refined, but you know what I mean.
Well, I'm not going to say that I disagree with every aspect, but I'm going to say that there's a lot of slippery slopes on that side.
I mean, if you want my opinion, we should just get rid of money. But
Well, yeah.
I mean, that would solve a lot.
Yes,
Kind of.
but it would also bring up a lot of problems too. That's just how the world works, man. I mean,
Well, so I know we talked about it, a few podcasts ago, but remember how I said there was one technology that if it came true would completely cripple everything? They're already working on it. There's a company in California, at least I think it's in California. There's a few of them that are
corn?
trying to synthesize food out of air.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you look at the basic not anatomical, that would be a food. The basic atomic structure of atmosphere, it's carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, which is also the basic building blocks of everything we eat.
I mean, look, based off our UBI debates, there's actually sections of that UBI that after I've looked at it a few times that could potentially work and make sense to me. So I'm not saying I'm against it, the whole thing, but I'm just saying that
My thought is we have to be ready for when this one technology, which is apparently closer than I think it is, comes through and you can have a little microwave in your house that pulls and makes a steak out of thin fucking air for you.
dude, I would be so fat you don't even know.
But I mean, what happens when that technology comes and it doesn't just do steaks? It can do any food.
Yeah, then I eat way too much, and then
But
the gym membership I buy is going to be pretty hefty priced.
the economy tanks.
Maybe, maybe not. It'll just shift somewhere else. That's the beauty of capitalism, John.
Ugh. Burn it all to the ground.
Gotcha.
Tax the rich. Yeah.
Oh, well, hey, good debate. Next time, I am willing to bring Kirk in because you guys will double team against me, but I'm up for the challenge. I'll verse up even more, and we can argue about it. But the beauty of it is, it's an argument. I'm not trying to change your mind. You're not trying to change mine. Because guess what? It's futile. Nobody's ever going to win because it's an ideology. It's just what I think and what you think. And people who get all up in arms about it, that's what drives me crazy because guess what? You're your own person. You're allowed to think whatever you want. And whether or not you change someone's opinion shouldn't matter. All that matters is that you believe what you believe. And if you're strong in your convictions, then screw it. Who cares? But on that note, let's go over to Kirk's Corner, because guess what? Kirk did make his appearance this week.
Well, kind of.
Hey, it's here.
Um, Chris, I just realized something. Kirk's Corner is going to be live on here. We're not going to hear it.
Oh, okay. Well,
Well,
guys,
we'll play it.
we apologize. We didn't think about that in advance. Everyone will hear Kirk's Corner. We won't hear it, so you won't hear us laughing, but it is what it is. Kirk pre-recorded this for us just because he wasn't going to be here, so everybody just sit back and enjoy.
Thank you, Chris and John. And I'd just like to talk to the Fuzed Relativity listeners. This is Kirk. I'm still in my corner, although I'm pre-recording it because I'm at a concert at Red Rocks tonight. So I'm making predictions, future predictions about what's going to happen Saturday, September 18th, 2021. So these are but they're pre-recorded, so they're predictions about the future, things that are going to be happening, but I made them in the past. So it's a whole time traveling Kirk's Corner in space. Ooh. John, if you could add a spooky echoey thing there. I'll wait. No, okay, so here we go. So here's what I recorded this early Saturday. Here's what's going to be happening or have just happened when you guys are actually recording the show. First thing is balloon animals will rise up against their human overlords, but once again be deflated by one sharp tack. So, better luck next time, balloon animals. Keep it up. Jeff Bezos will say something that will cause humanity to roll their eyes and sigh, "What a dick." Looks like a dick, acts like a dick, has a rocket, looks like a dick. He's a dick. Here's a prediction. John will be tired and pale. Probably both. I'm willing to wager dollars to donuts. John is going to be tired and pale. But that's okay. Here's one I did not see coming. Trampolines will actually ride the rails looking for work and hobo chili. Conversely, tramps will jump on children. So they decided to flip. All right. Flip roles on that one. Drummers will work. They won't want to work. They'll just bang on their drum all day. Okay, this one's a little sad, so brace yourself. The Trix rabbit will be found dead on the side of the road with an empty prescription bottle still in his hand. You think roadkill, but no, the opioid epidemic is still raging, people, even for cartoon rabbits on cereal boxes. What else do we got? Here's this prediction. This will definitely happen tonight. Tired of all the fighting, Taste Great and less filling beer fans will finally reach a compromise. So thank goodness that's finally over. It's been raging for decades. Here's one, and this goes for everybody. Just a prediction I'm making. Your algorithm will piss you off. Okay. Here's one. It's for the world of entertainment. The Fast and the Furious Sharknado edition will be greenlit. God will weep for 4 days and 4 nights. Here's one. This one is more about the gender and men and women. Women will wonder what their man is thinking, and I predict men aren't thinking anything. Okay, so that's probably, you know what, if that doesn't happen, I'll be surprised. Here's one from the more about news media. Idiots will speculate on how a minor event will affect the 2024 presidential election. And that is be followed by bigger idiots will listen. So just stop. Less news media. It will be good for you. That's my prediction. Here's one. This is about sort of jobs in the economy. A recent college grad will attend a job fair and will not only return to their parents' home, but will return to the fetal position. Those things are depressing. The jobs that people want to give away are usually horrible. A couple more predictions. We're almost out of here. A single guy will finally throw away that bag of salad he bought in April. Odds are, you guys feel me. You try. You buy it first, the vegetables die a couple times, and the third or fourth try, they may actually get eaten. Another prediction for September 18th is you will not start exercising. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next one. All right. I think it's two more I got here, and then we're done. But dentists will make patients feel bad about not flossing. That will happen. That happened today. It happened afterwards. These predictions are solid gold, people. And I think I had one more. Let me just real quick. Right now, let me call. Oh, this one is very. You said a lot of these are general. All right, I'll end on a specific one. Right Hand Blue will be called, causing Susie Franklin of Thunder Bay, Ontario, to lose in Twister. That will happen. That is, you can't get much more specific than that. Okay, so that was my predictions. We'll see if we'll replay them later when they come true to follow up on them. I just want to say I am enjoying the concert, but just the Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada thing, that was a little reference. It was sort of a little homage to Norm Macdonald, who passed away. If you don't know Norm Macdonald, he was one of my favorite comics. He died. So if you don't know him, I'll tell him just one of my favorite jokes. It's a little long one, but here's the one that he told on Conan. So if you don't know Norm and you like this joke, just YouTube Norm Macdonald. He's hilarious. But it was he was saying he was on Conan. So he's like, I went to. I was hanging with my uncle, and he was showing me around his town, and he's like, the problem, Norm, when you're like me, a jack of all trades, you can do anything. You can do so many different skills. Nobody knows you for one specific trait. So he's like, look over there at that barn, Norm. I built that barn with my own two hands, just made it myself. And when I walk around town, the people go, look, there goes Bob, the barn builder guy. No, Norm, they don't. And or look over there, Norm. And there's the weather balloon. There's a weather balloon. Now, you don't know this about me, but I was the first. I was the first to pioneer weather. I was the first person to fly in a weather balloon. And do they go, look, there goes the Bob, the pioneering weatherman? No, sir, they do not. Because let me tell you something. Norm. He goes, if you have sex with one goat, and there goes Bob, the dirty goat fucker. So, okay. So, that's my little Norm Macdonald homage. That's the end of Kirk's Corner. I'm going to turn it back over to two chuckleheads, one of which who smells way worse than the other, but the other one doesn't smell great either. Okay. Thank you guys for enjoying Kirk's Corner. I'll be back next week for Fuzed Relativity. Have fun, guys.
All right, so sorry, unfortunately we weren't able to listen into that and react to it at the same time. That was completely my fault. If I had had the foresight to think about that, me and Chris could have watched that separately and reacted to it and recorded all of that. But, I was like, oh, we'll just listen to this live on the podcast so that we can react to it. And then the way I set it up, that just isn't possible for us. Chris was able to listen in on through the stream while we were muted, but
some of it anyway. But the beauty of it is I'll be able to listen on Monday when all of our new episodes drop. So I'll catch it. Kirk will be he'll be happy. We'll still be able to catch it, and hopefully he is enjoying his concert.
We did hear that he was talking about how Norm Macdonald had passed this week, which it's quite the sad thing to hear.
Yeah, giant bummer. Someone I've never met, didn't know, but grew up with.
I was going to say, we watched The Man Show was on G4 a lot back then.
Yeah, lots of different... It's always weird when a celebrity dies, and it's one that you... just either liked or saw in a lot of movies, and just sometimes you kind of feel a little bad, and you're like, never knew the guy, but that's sad.
Yeah.
Well, John, we got some off topics. As normal, we're gonna jump into some off topics here and round out the show. And John, I wanted to start with I had a story come across yesterday that I found absolutely intriguing. A group of people, I can't remember which research college or wherever they were. Anyway, they created the whitest paint ever
Oh,
recorded.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because it uses a an element that I work with almost, well, I say daily. I don't actually work with it daily, but I have a
Was it
large.
barium?
Yep.
Barium sulfate, I
Yep.
think, is what they used.
Which is
So,
used heavily in radiology because it is radio dense and safe for humans to.
right. Which, unlike lead paint that you have to get rid of off your walls, and probably something I ate as a kid, which would explain a lot. But the cool thing about this paint is who cares about the whitest paint ever created? Well, this paint they have proven is 98% reflective of heat and sun rays, right? So essentially, the way they put it is that this particular paint, when painted on a roof of, let's say, a school or skyscraper or some sort of building, even your home, will reflect 98% of the sun's rays, which, well, sun's rays and heat, which essentially means that could potentially reduce the need for air conditioning because the paint itself does not get hot, meaning that the roof that it's covering does not get hot, and it could potentially save a lot of
That's not.
energy and pollution from.
If I was reading it right, that's not. That's kind of how it works, but the way it was explained was because it's so good at reflecting heat, the heat inside the building gets transferred into it from the backside of the roof. But because it's going to still be colder than the ambient temperature, it's radiating that heat away, and it will never get as hot as the radiant temperature. So it's effectively like a passive cooler for your house that's really, really effective.
Right. Well, they said that a 1,000 square foot swatch of this paint on a particular area would save the amount of 10 kilowatts of energy used to, which essentially would be used to cool a home.
So basically a roof.
Right. And so theoretically, if this paint is what it is, what it says it is, then you could paint your roof this white paint and not have to use your air conditioning in the hottest parts of the day, which would save countless amounts of energy, which would then, drive the electrical companies crazy.
Well, the I can foresee this having issues because white's already. I mean, if you're reflecting light, you're going to be a very bright object. Hence why white is very bright.
Right.
So I messed with the black is black, and it's really cool because it absorbs a lot of light. You have the opposite where it reflects a lot of light. It's going to be like a mirror. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this for sure. But
all the birds will be sunburnt. It'll be
yeah,
terrible. Yes.
and
That would be kind of a weird, like, yeah, where your home is cooler, but you're soaking in countless amounts of UV radiation. So
yeah. Well, and my off topic was just that Steve Wozniak, who was one of the co-founders of Apple, is starting a space company to clean up debris.
of course he is.
That's altruistic use of money.
Yes, but how much of it's actually gonna be theoretical versus, you know?
Well, and a lot of it was talking about how most of the stuff that we technically need to worry about. It's all going to deorbit itself anyway. That's the nice thing about being so close to the planet is even if that Dragon capsule that had Inspiration 4 malfunctioned, they're still in a decaying orbit. So it would have eventually came back down to Earth anyway. Possibly long after they were dead, but still would have come back down.
Sure.
This is more for deep space satellites, ones that are in geosynchronous orbit, where they're just too far away to ever be affected by gravity. Potentially ones that are in, like, the... Fuck, I can't think of the name.
Dude, haven't they already... This is kind of off topic as well, but apparently there's, like, revealing some kind of magnet that could lift an aircraft carrier. So... like, it's strong enough. It's a rare, it's a, I'm assuming rare earth, but strong enough
Probably
magnet.
electromagnetic.
But it could lift an aircraft carrier, so why not just strap one of those to a Dragon and go searching for space debris?
I would assume it's... Yeah, that's not how that works. I would be willing to bet most people would want fragmented pieces of a rare earth metal magnet raining on their head. Well, I get your point, but it's
for the thrill seekers. It might be fun.
The other thing that you've got to look at was with magnets, they lose their force pretty exponentially due to the area. Like even rare earth magnets, if you have them about a foot apart, they're not attracted to each other. That doesn't really matter, or that scales too. Those tiny ones, they're all at a certain point. There's just no magnetic field anymore. Even
Dude,
with,
but I've been messing with rare earth magnets, and tell that to the amount of ones that have shattered. It's amazing how when they get close enough to each other to attract. They attract and they literally shatter themselves because they get crazy excited.
But that's when they get close enough. That's my point, is even if you have a massive magnet that can lift an aircraft carrier, you could still drive a car with, like 10 feet from it and, wouldn't be sucked in. This isn't Fast and the Furious.
Are you sure?
Almost positive.
I'm pretty sure Kirk threw out in his corner something about Fast and the Furious Sharknado edition. So let's try that out. Let's see what's going on there.
Did he actually make a prediction? Because that would be amazing. I really wish we could have listened to it.
I think that was in there. Something about Fast and the Furious Sharknado mashup. So, anyone in Hollywood who is listening to us should already have that in the works, probably. Sharknado only takes like 2.5 days to make, so we should see it pretty soon.
So, Chris, now that we're done with off topic, I had a question for you. Remember a few weeks back when we, I keep interrupting you every time I try and give you a chance to talk. When we talked about making a 3D printed board game.
Yes, kind of.
Do you want to start that now? Now, obviously, this wouldn't be, oh, hey, we've got the idea. We're going to do it next week. No, this is just a template to start with. But I have everything pulled up to make this stuff. Now, we can either do it now or we can do it later. It doesn't matter to me, but I figured this would be I honestly set this all up because I thought it was going to be a little bit of the shorter of a podcast. It's not. It's 10:30.
Hey, I'm all for it because I'll come up with an idea and make billions, and then we can talk about capitalism.
Despite the fact that when we talked about this, we said they would be. All right.
That's not the point. Capitalism rules. All right. Let's do it. Shoot.
Oh, I'm heading back to Kirk's corner. Okay.
Hey.
So I've got two pulled up here, and these are two board game design idea generators. Now, I'm going to roll both of them to just kind of give us a general feel so that we could work with either, both, or, something in the effect, because I liked principles from both of them. So for this first one here, we're going to come up with nothing, because it froze. Why is my internet hurting? Oh! So the mechanics are voting.
Okay.
The theme is... Okay. Maybe we should re-roll this one. I should have looked. Okay. So, whoops.
Hey, guerrilla Nazis, let's
No.
roll it.
So the mechanics of bluffing and memory with the theme of mission. I don't know if that's like religious mission, and then the win tally of lowest score. And then I have this second one that I liked a little bit better.
Okay. Because that one was terrible.
Yeah. This one gives environment, goal, genre, rules, and wild card.
Dude, I liked it. Oh, you rolled it. I liked the beginning one.
So we've got at home, destroy objects. This is more possibly a video game one, but I still like it. The hell is genre of One Touch?
Yeah, I don't.
Sounds like a failed boy band, and must not be seen. Like I said, we're going to use both of these to try and come up with something.
Well, what I think we should do, because I'm not really understanding, but I like, just re-roll that one and let's see what happens.
Re-roll which one?
This one. Re-roll it real quick.
We've got ocean, reach a destination, educational, rules bounce off walls. See, this is what and something spooky. That fits with Halloween, so I'm kind of down for this one. In fact, I'm going to print screen it. I mean, I have it saved, so it doesn't really matter, but I do kind of like that. So we'll make an ocean game that's kind of falls into the educational. We can bounce off walls where we have to reach a destination.
Yes. And something spooky.
Something spooky. I like this. I think we can come up with a game that fits this. Or potentially the other stuff. That's
at least like the most realistic one, because I mean I'm still okay with guerrilla Nazis, but
not so much. In today's political climate, that's not something we really want to touch on.
Yes, I am totally joking. I am not okay with guerrilla Nazis. Everybody calm down.
Alright, so we will get working on this. We will hopefully have updates and everything as we go. This may be our initial thought was we'd do weekly updates until we came out. It's probably going to be every other week. But we'll kind of work on the ideas and see what we come up with.
It's a broad enough area. We could probably come up with something. The ocean throws me off a little bit because we're 3D printing this, but...
Yeah, but see, that's also the nice thing about it is we're 3D printing, so we can do a lot. Like even just 3D printing some ocean waves with pegs could be potentially...
Yeah, keep giving me ideas, John. Let's do this.
Oh, I'll happily give you that one. I've got a much better one.
Oh, well, you're an ass then. What happened? What happened to your give everybody half of what you got?
I just did.
Yeah, you got gave half me the of crappy one. Just like a capitalist, you gave me the crap. See?
Fair point. Well, in fairness, this is a competition. Not for anything, but it is a competition.
Well, yes. And my goal is to crush you. So, I'm going to be the Bezos Musk of the world when it comes to this game. But hopefully everybody enjoyed our episode this week. We will continue this debate and tune in. We don't know when it's going to be, but Kirk will be back and it'll be 2 against 1. Should be, hard for me to win, but we will go from there. But John, good episode. Kirk will be back next week. Hopefully everything's good. I one programming note. I am meeting up with Kirk next week. We will probably cut a full song of our, is it intro, outro?
It's kind of both at this point. It used to just be the outro, and then everyone liked it, so it became both.
So we're going to do a full cut of that song, and we will post it on YouTube, so anybody who does like our intro/outro music, check it out. We will have it up probably next week. We'll talk about it on the podcast for sure.
We also have another question relativity that will be coming out on Tuesday. This one is, I would like to say it's fully animated by Chris, but he fully drew it. I'm going to be doing most of the animating.
Guys, I've said before, I'm one step above a gorilla. So John had to step in and fix what I screwed up a lot.
I will be using his drawings, so that will all remain, with the exception of the magnifying glass, which I can actually turn on.
And guess what? They're not stick figures, so win for me. But everybody, do check us out. We're on YouTube. We're having stuff come out every day now, almost. So check it out. That's John's magnifying glass.
Sneak peek of Thursday or Tuesday's episode.
Much better than what I came up with. Check out our stuff on YouTube. It comes out almost every day now. And TikTok, Fuzed Relativity, Twitter, Fuzed Relativity.
Twitter.
We got a lot going on.
Twitter is F Relativity.
Oh, F Relativity, which is incrementally better, no matter how you look at it. But we have a lot of stuff going on. So check us out, and we're going to keep getting better as we go. So, John, like I said, good episode.
Yeah.
And Kirk,
longest.
headbanging at a concert, or I don't know what kind of concert.
I was going to say, I think it's probably smooth jazz. So
probably blues or smooth jazz of some kind. So he's probably falling asleep. But anyway, everybody, have a good evening.